What's happening before?
Yeah, because don't you have to send that link out for people to join?
Yeah, I did send the link. But I told him
Yeah, but you sent it to him to go ahead and join now.
No.
So it's going live.
not to hold on to my message. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey,
There we go.
as usual on our end, we're having some challenges.
It's always technical.
We can't see you guys, but we see that we are live. Somebody give us a comment on here and let us know if you can hear us, see us just fine, all that good stuff. Mark, what's up, buddy? We're having some challenges.
They can hear us.
Cool.
What's up, Mark?
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We'll just run through this. What's up, everybody? We got the crew back. Sorry again about our cancellation on you guys last time. Had a lot of stuff going on, but we got David back. We got Matt here, myself. We're excited to be here, hanging out with you all again, talking fishing, talking lines and stuff, kayak fishing, and we got a special guest that's going to be joining with us, Joshua Diehl. I'm assuming that I'm pronouncing that correct. We're going to call him the Diehl, Joshua the Diehl. But he is the recent champion from the Bassmaster Nation Kayak Open on Pickwick, and had an impressive 91 inches out there on that lake under some pretty tough conditions. So we're going to get him on here in just a little bit. But we'll get a few things that's been going on. We had the Gibson County tournament out of the most recent West Tennessee Bass Yackers event on Gibson County, and our buddy Mark Davis pulled away with a back-to-back win on that one. So congratulations to Mark.
Yeah.
Who else? What was following up with that?
We had Donnie Jones come in second. I think it's only the second time Donnie's fished with us this year.
Yeah.
He was second. Then the consistent Ron Butler Jr.
He's been on.
He's third. He's been on a lot. And Mark went out with 51 3/4 inches, and he caught that big 21 3/4 right in front of me.
Yeah.
I mean, really, seriously, right there in front of me. And then Donnie had 49 1/4, and Ron had 48 1/4. It was hot.
Yeah, it was.
It was still fun.
I was not unhappy that I had to leave early that day and didn't get to fish the whole event. I put my 3 fish on the board and scattered out of there while it was still halfway decent.
Yeah. And finished seventh.
Finished seventh. I mean, yeah. And I stayed a little bit. Maybe I could have done a little better. But
Yeah.
I really did not care.
And you were catching them.
I caught the
little different
crap out of them. I mean, I had a group. I mean, when I started not too far from Mark and Matt. Getting old, getting senile. It's been a long day. My wife's in the hospital, y'all, again, which is why we had to cancel the last time. But hopefully I'll be there shortly. But I had a limit by the time I got to them.
Yeah, he did.
Within like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, not a big one, but it was a limit.
I know you passed me. You passed me about 9, something like that,
Yeah.
9 or 10, and I didn't have a fish in the boat yet. You're like, man, I've been snatching them all morning.
Yeah. I mean, I caught 25 or 30. And the sad part was I was catching them on a big old swim bait.
Yeah.
Kind of reminiscent of a conversation we had up here not too long ago.
I was
with,
thinking when you said that.
Mr. Ashley Alt.
Yeah. But it was actually really great conditions for it.
It was perfect.
I think in hindsight, 2020, the wind blowing pretty good.
We was blowing right in on that bank that I was fishing, and I mean they were just smacking it. It was stupid how many of the things I caught, and how many I lost a couple of good ones that were probably pretty key, but it is what it is. But it was fun. I didn't change the hooks out on that old bull shad. That's my fault. So it happens.
It was a weird morning though.
It was.
We had that overcast, cloudy, some thunder off in the distance and stuff. I was thinking spinner bait, maybe a swim bait, some top water action. Man, they just weren't touching it. It wasn't until later on in the day I picked up a trap and just started ripping it. Doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it. I finally started getting some bites, but yeah, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, man.
Especially during the summer.
Yeah, of course, I'm throwing something dragging on across the bottom, and just as slow as I've ever fished,
Yeah.
But I never could put that third one on board. It just,
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
that's
how it
3
goes,
tournaments
man.
in a row with 2 fish.
It's better than 0 fish.
That's absolutely right.
I want to bring up a topic, something I saw that was pretty interesting. It's actually pretty outstanding. There's some colleges that are giving out scholarships, kayak fishing team scholarships.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Who's that?
Yeah. I can't remember this. I can't remember the school, but there's a couple of them out there. And our buddy, Little Miami Outfitters, the Produce Rods.
Oh yeah,
they
signed Alabama though.
Yeah.
Really?
He's sponsoring the
Alabama
Alabama college team. So.
Man, those are great rods.
They are.
They
are.
I've got 2 now, and I get the 7 foot. Of course, I don't fish anything but a 7 foot rod. It's hard headed. They're good, medium heavy, fast. I love it.
Got a good stock of the spinning rods and the bait casters in stock, and we have the neoprene Little Miami sleeves for them too if you want those for $16.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
New, it's a new thing. So
All right.
Yeah, I talked to him day before yesterday. He says the heavies are a little further out than he thought.
Yeah.
But
well, that's just normal.
that's just what's going on right now. But yeah, man, a lot of exciting things. That scholarship for the kids. That's pretty awesome. But got some other things coming up. As you guys know, the Tennessee Bass Nation Championship coming up next week. That's going to be on Chickamauga. 2 day, correct?
2 days, yeah. Saturday and Sunday. Steve's actually right now having live going over some stuff about it.
Idiot. So don't leave us. But
Don't leave us,
if
man.
if you need to, catch up on the details of that, that's definitely a video I would check out. But yeah, man, it's the season's been it's been a lot going on this year. All the major national trail events. We got this Susquehanna River event going on for the Hobie Bass Open Series, and a lot of guys and gals are posting up some good smallie picks. So I expect that's going to be a slugfest up there. It was last year. They caught them really well. So
I saw a couple posts already today, and a lot of people on.
yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I wish I could be up there. David, what else? We got Wisconsin. Up over
Wisconsin.
Mississippi.
We got Wisconsin at the end of September for Hobie. We've got Pickwick back here in September.
Yeah.
They're doing Pennsylvania. I just said this weekend. So I hate that I'm not getting to go to that event, but it is what it is. Got a lot going on here in the store. Having a big dog days of summer sale, we'll call it, I think. With the freaking onslaught of heat that we've had for the last week.
So you're selling air conditioning units?
I wish I was selling air conditioning units. We are going to be running everything in the primary tackle shop for 15% off for the weekend. Rods, reels, tackle, whatever. Come in. It's going to be hot. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be hot in the store. Not anything I can do about it. It is what it is. But it's, we're going to give you some cash off. You're going to have to be here with shopping for your kids for the weekend anyway. We're back to school, so tax-free weekend in Tennessee, so it's a good time to get that 10% off for all the clothing and all that at the SY side. And we got the new hats in from Richardson. Richardson 111s, nice, soft, new colors. So we got some new colors in those, and those are really cool. So you guys come out and see us this weekend, and it's gonna be a busy one. It's gonna be crowded. I'm gonna tell y'all now. It's gonna be a zoo in here. It's just that simple.
Yeah. So a lot of things going on, man. It's kind of getting into the the later end of the season. I'm anticipating some fall fishing fully. Really, I'm anticipating late fall, early winter fishing. That's because the fall, man, it can still be really tough during those months.
September's still hot most of the time, even in October sometimes. So Saturday at Browns Creek is going to be warm.
Oh yeah. What's the 90 degrees?
Let's see. That's what
Saturday? No, it's like 98.
You could have just agreed with the 90.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of those that I'm not entirely upset that I'm not going to make.
But it's still Browns, man, and somebody's going to catch some giants.
Somebody's going to catch a giant.
They're just in there. They got to eat, and it happens every year. There's some big fish caught out there. So
the Weather Channel saying 90 degrees. That's cold.
At Browns?
At Browns on Saturday. It sure is.
It's supposed to be 98 here, so I don't know how that works.
Wow, leading up to the nights though, 62,
Yeah.
67.
It's gonna be hot. It's supposed to be hot Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah. Browns is this weekend, right?
Yeah. 90 degrees.
All right, let me finish posting this.
David, we're going to go with 90 degrees.
We're going with 90. Last I checked, there were 16 people paid, and I know I'll be there. You'll be
Maybe
there.
I should.
Yeah, I haven't paid yet.
Yeah, I
I'll be
know.
there.
You haven't paid yet.
I feel
You're
like
one of
sometimes
those slackers that don't pay.
I was kind of waiting around for that bass check to come in, but I try to just use fishing money for other fishing money.
Yeah, I know.
But,
I'm not using all my fishing money.
Yeah, it starts screwing it down.
Yeah, real quick. Getting toward the end, but yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's always fun around.
It is, guys. Come on, join us if you're new to the channel. If you're new to West Tennessee Bass Yackers, that's our local club. Got a lot of members on here. Look forward to seeing you guys out there Saturday. But man, come out and fish with us. Met a guy that was actually hanging out with Jason Carr this weekend. I told him, hey, come out and hang out with us. Come fish with us. He didn't even seem to know that we existed. So, let's get some more people out there, man. We're more than welcome to have you all. It's a great time. Great people. Matt's one of the tournament directors. Brandon Davis, one of the others. Just great group of guys and gals. So
yep. Some sticks too.
And some sticks. A lot of knowledge. Yeah, a lot of knowledge. So we're gonna get the champ on, Mr. Joshua, and we're gonna get to know him. So let me send him a message. I think this might resolve our picture on our end.
Yeah, because you can see in the picture on the screen. Yeah. We're looking for what was up there earlier. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a.
This is plugged in. We're not using those. We're looking at really us from 22.
Should. Yeah.
Just wait for him.
It might take a second, y'all. So.
What's
going on, guys?
How you doing?
Well, hey,
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We're just going to introduce ourselves real quick, and then we're going to spend the next 45 minutes getting to know you. But my name is Justin Patrick. We saw each other up there. We talked a little bit.
I'm Matt Skelton.
And then we got Mr.
And I'm David Best. I'm primary tackle here at Operations Manager for S.Y. Wilson.
So Josh, man, where are you from, buddy? Tell us a little bit about yourself. And, one of the questions we like to start out with is how'd you get started in kayak fishing?
Well, you guys kind of picked a magical day because 2 years ago today was my first kayak fishing tournament.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So that says something right there. So, as far as me, I moved a lot as a kid. Both my parents were military. I went in the service myself. Spent time in the Air Force. So I've kind of been around the country a bit. I've always loved to fish. Always enjoyed my time on the water. One of the funny things that I tell a lot of people though is that, growing up as a kid, my family wasn't very supportive of the idea of fishing. A lot of it comes down to my grandfather. When I was 16, I told him, I said, like, I want to be on the Bassmaster circuit. And my grandfather was like, we're blue collar, son. Like, we can't compete with those boys. And what you saw on TV, when you watched the Bassmasters back then was, you always saw them catching fish. And if you didn't know what was really happening in the filming sector, which a lot of that didn't start revealing itself till after that time frame, you didn't know that, there was a lot of gaps in their days and a lot of time that they weren't catching fish. And, my family had me convinced that I wasn't to be a tournament angler. And a few years back, a buddy of mine, well, I say a few, it's actually 2.5 years ago, a buddy of mine talked me into coming out into our local club. And he said, just come out and have fun. Come out and have a good day. And so I went out and I had a terrible day. It was cold. It was rainy. I missed so many fish at the boat. I mean, it was rough. And I come back to weigh-ins and I wasn't that far out. I ended up finishing 5th. And I told myself, I was like, I can make some corrections here. And so when I came out for the next club tournament, I whipped them. And then I came out the next one and I whipped them again. And I was like, okay, all right, fair enough, fine. Maybe I haven't given myself enough credit on my ability to fish. And in the summer of that year, a buddy of mine said, hey, you need to come out and kayak fish. I'm like, well, I've never been in a kayak in my life. He goes, you need to come out and kayak fish. So I'm like, all right, I'll come out and kayak fish. I'll come spend some time with you guys and see what it's about. And I got introduced to a company here in Augusta called Southern Moon Outfitters. And went in, got talking kayaks, and they got me out in my first kayak. And I fished. It was a state trail event for East Central Georgia, and it was on the Savannah River. And I did all right. I think I finished 8th in that event. And then the very next event, a month later, I went to the Okmulgee River with all of the hammers from Georgia, and I won that event. And I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Like, I had a good day. I was doing some things a little bit differently from the other guys. A lot of the guys float to Okmulgee, and I stayed up top. I'm not the best of river fishermen. I'm not a floater. I tend to find schools of fish or find areas that work to my techniques and kind of run with them. So, and then as you guys know, at the end of 2019, BASS decided they were going to release a kayak series. And when they decided they were release a kayak series, I said, well, I think I can afford to make this work. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to commit to the entire trail. And in our first event at Pell City at Logan Martin, I finished 29th in my first ever national event. I earned my championship spot to Possum Kingdom that day. I got my first paycheck from Bass, and well, I say the rest is kind of history. Most people don't know that I've done really well on the Bassmaster circuit so far. The only event that I didn't fish was Clear Lake last year due to COVID. My work wouldn't let me go to California due to the COVID situation. But other than that, I fished every event. I've been in the money of 6 of the 8 events, to include the national championship at Possum Kingdom.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice, man.
That's very good.
So since 2019, have you been following the trail, except for that one that you talked about, pretty consistently up to this point, the Bassmaster Trail?
Absolutely. Yeah, I follow the trail regularly. I mean, I follow the elites. I follow us in the kayaks. I follow the opens. Just try to keep up to speed with what's happening in the industry. I also keep up with Hobie BOS. I had planned to fish in more BOS events this year, and I didn't. A lot of it came down to trying to deconflict schedules. I fished 52 events last year between my bass boat and my kayak.
Oh, wow.
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 That's pretty awesome.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time on the water.
How many days does that equate to? Practice and tournament.
With practice and stuff. Yeah, with practice and stuff like that, I'd probably put up, I don't know, probably somewhere between 160, 170 days throughout the course of the year.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
So, well, that's pretty. I mean, it's kind of first that I've heard. I know there's a couple others that kind of do that, fish both bass boat and kayak stuff, but yeah, man, that's a lot to keep up with. But pretty impressive. You mentioned that you know, we're going to get into your full story here because I was there at the weigh-in, and when you were talking about what you were throwing and what you were doing, I was pretty impressed because I mean it was definitely it's you know I want you to tell it, but it was a bait that you haven't heard much about yet, and you know I don't know if you want to spill that beans on here. We won't pressure you into it, or maybe we will. But
you're not hurting my feelings any.
You already put it out there on Bassmaster.com, so a lot more people see that than this podcast. But
yeah,
man, Pickwick, Pickwick is hour 45 minutes, down the road from where we're at. It's right here in Memphis, Tennessee. So I mean, that's our place. We love it. Have a lot of kayak, terms there as well. Quick question: Are you going to be coming back for the Hobie BOS here since you got some experience on it now?
So to be honest with you, probably not. And the reason for that is because 3 days after BOS ends, I have to be in Wisconsin for the Mississippi River event with Bassmaster.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Possum Kingdom, man. How did you do in that tournament? Because man, that was a slugfest. You guys caught them out there.
So I finished 26th at Possum Kingdom. I probably should have finished somewhere around the top 10. I lost 3 fish in the 19 to 20 inch range in my 2 days of fishing. I had a shallow cranking bite. I threw a DT6 in a green gizzard shad all day at Possum Kingdom both days. I had a bluff wall that led to a little kicker point that headed out to deep water. And basically the fish, as they were moving to their post-spawn locations, were making long runs and chasing gizzard shad around the corner. And then every time they would come around this little point that I was working, they would push the gizzard shad up shallow, and I'd just wear them out.
Nice. Dude, I was, I didn't qualify for that event. This Pickwick was my first. We've had some Tennessee Bass Nation stuff that I fished before, but as far as the Bassmaster Open Kayak Trail, that was my first event. So I didn't qualify for Possum Kingdom, but I was looking at the lake because I'd never heard of it before. It's a really funky looking lake. It's not your traditional. It just doesn't look like your Lake Forks, or any Kentucky Lake, any kind of river system. But man, when guys were putting up the numbers out there, I was overly impressed because there were a lot of big fish caught. I mean, it's Texas, but still, I mean, that was pretty awesome. But
that lake out there is a very untapped resource.
It appears so, yeah. Well, man, let's get into Pickwick, man. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts coming into this tournament. Had you been on Pickwick before this win?
So I've never been on Pickwick before. This is a first trip. I was pretty sure that the Tennessee boys or the Alabama boys were going to whip my tail.
Well, you did your homework because I was at the ramp where obviously I didn't know. I'd never met you before, but when I saw you show up to the weigh-in and everything, the check-in, I was like, that dude was at the ramp that I just took out of. I mean, that's a well-known area. You did your homework well, but what was your thoughts coming into it as far as patterns? Did you have an idea of what you were going to do, and kind of how did your pre-planning develop into what you actually did?
So you're absolutely right. I did my homework. I did a lot of homework coming in. I was nervous about Pickwick, a little bit nervous about Chesapeake Bay upcoming too, but it'll be what it'll be. As far as Pickwick's concerned, there's a couple things that I've learned about Pickwick through my research. One of which is that a lot of people love the tail race, but on the flip side, if you want to win a bass boat tournament out there, you need greenies, and you need greenies off deep. You got to get them off the ledges, you got to get them offshore. And so the first thing that I did on day one of practice, I got in there at like 8 o'clock in the morning, driving in from Augusta, Georgia. And I pulled in, I went straight to the tail race. I went to the tail race and it was terrible. It's like, no, like this ain't gonna work. Like I'm not staying here. I got out of the tail race. I went down to Sheffield and put in at Sheffield real quick, where I caught my first couple smallmouth of the day on the first practice day. And I was like, current's moving a little faster than I want it to be moving. I want it to be a little more stationary. I needed to have enough flow, but at the same time, I don't run a trolling motor on my kayak. I run a Hobie PA14 and I'm all pedals. And so I'll get back to that in a moment, but I pulled out of Sheffield and I came down to Pride, and I spent all of the rest of day one pre-fishing, fishing Pride. And that afternoon, I probably covered somewhere between 12 and 15 miles on top of what I had already done this morning. And a lot of what I was doing, I don't fish a ton in practice. I spend a lot of time scanning and mapping. Similar to what I would do if I was in a bass boat. Basically, get my legs rolling and I just try to cover as much water as I can and look for areas that I think are going to, one, suit my style, but two, also produce the kind of fish and the consistency that I'm looking for. And the reality of the situation is that on day one of practice, the only thing that I really liked about Pride Landing was that the current was in that right zone for me. Everything else on practice day one actually didn't go very well. I caught fish, but they were all dinks. And then I came back on day two and I launched at Not Just Trace over at Colbert Ferry. And on that day, I did 16 miles on the water on the Hobie. I went all the way to Cover's Island, all the way around Cover's Island, and then I went all the way to Bluff Creek, 5 miles the opposite direction. And I made that circuit, and I found a really good spot off of Cover Island that I liked. And I found a really good spot off of Bluff Creek that I liked, but I didn't think that they were sustainable for tournament day. I didn't like the idea of them being so far apart for a kayak tournament. And so I worked my way back, and as I was going back to Colbert Ferry, I was like, man, it's really hot out here today. Like it's miserable hot. Just kind of drained after that much time on the water. And as I was fighting a little bit of current that we had, I was like, this could be an issue. I need to take this into the game plan. And so on day 3 of practice, I decided I was going to go back to Pride. The current was going to be right. And then with the drawback of the current going into Saturday, I was like, this is the area that I need to focus on. And so I come back out of Pride and I started my loops and I started scanning the ledges. And Pride's not necessarily for its ledges, but there are some in the area of Pride. And I ran a sequence twice near where I fished, and I found these anomalies. And it's like, these anomalies are really close together. I said, that's really good for what I'm looking for, because now I have changes in the topo where fish are going to hold to, one, get out of the current, but two, they have a close proximity area to move up and feed if they want to eat. And I was like, this is a perfect place to be. So I scanned it twice. I made some waypoints and marked some of those anomalies, and those essentially became my sweet spot. And after I did that, I was like, okay, I caught a couple fish. I lost at least one giant fish out of a brush pile off that ledge on day 3 of practice. And I broke it clean off, messed up the hook on that thing, and I know it was a toad, but I never got it out. And then I broke off about 5 minutes later in the same brush pile on another fish. I was like, okay, all right. Came back to the landing, went to registration, called it a day. I guess before registration, I started packing and loading and prepping all my gear for tournament day. And all week I've had this Strike King Hybrid Hunter sitting on the back of my truck. And in the package, still brand new. I have a tackle wall here at my house, and it's got baits that I've never thrown before. It's baits that are special baits that are like, hey, if you go to this part of the world or if you encounter these kinds of things, you need to know how to pick this up, or you need to learn how to pick this up really, really, really quickly. Well, I picked up the Hybrid Hunter specifically for the TVA, knowing that the TVA had a lot of grass in it. And The Hybrid Hunter was sitting on the back of my truck the entire time and looking at it while I was rigging up, and I was like, this is the time to open that package. And I opened it up, I put it on the line, and I was like, I'm going to work this, and I'm going to work the offshore brush, and that's my game plan. So that was my prep.
Nice. That's really detailed. I definitely want to hear why you opt out of using a motor on your PA. Because I mean, a lot of guys, I mean, like myself, I mean, I added the XI3 to my Hobie not too long ago, specifically for like Bassmaster and covering water during practice and stuff like that. So, man, get into a little bit of that. Is it just a stealth deal? Is it, you know, what's your story behind that?
So two things. One has to do with mileage, and then the second is people don't realize how fast I am in the Hobie. So when we launched out of Pride Ferry, I was doing 5.5 miles an hour on the pedals.
Go.
Dude, that's moving.
So
That is moving.
yeah.
How many masts do you
Moving
a year?
What was that?
How many of the what was that? Synthes?
Master splines.
No, splines. How many splines do you go through in a year on your drive?
So I haven't had to replace any splines, but I've broken four other drives on my fifth. I'm on my fifth drive currently. I put 3,000 miles on my Hobie pedals last year alone.
Goodness. Wow.
And are you running the 180 or the 360?
No, I'm running a 360.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah,
I have
that's
a 14 360. And I put a little over 3,000 miles on it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, man. You know, for the amount of knowledge that you've covered in pre-fishing and stuff like that, just human propulsion only. I mean, there's, you know, you're absolutely right. That area of Pickwick, you know, I mean, you know, during the summertime, they typically don't really move a lot of current. And kind of what I've noticed, you know, and tracked over the years is that, you know, they move a lot of current like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday when you want it the most, it's not there. You know, businesses are running and stuff. I mean, everything's generating. You know, they're generating electricity and stuff like that for the, you know, the local areas and stuff. So, you know, you got businesses running, you know, through the week and whatnot. I mean, we talk about this all the time, but you know, it was really funny when we were in the captain's meeting. Everybody was asking the TVA guy, "Can you tell him to pump up the current?" And that is one thing, man. We've learned about the Tennessee River is the TVA does not care about fishing tournaments at all, unless you've got a couple million in your back pocket to handle.
That worked in my favor. I'm actually glad that it took them a while to spin up the water. Two reasons for that. I'm a decent offshore fisherman. I spend a lot of time. So Clarksville Lake is my local lake here, and it's a real pain. And last year, because the water levels were far lower last summer than they are this summer, a lot of fish went offshore, and so I got a lot of practice fishing offshore in the summertime. And so I was prepared for that slow grind, that work a series of brush piles, go through my rotations kind of deal. And I was totally prepared for that. But the thing that I was looking for most Saturday morning was cloud cover to start the morning, because we had a full moon. And when I was driving over, the haze was pretty thick. And when I got out to my spot at Pride Landing, I looked up at the moon and you could barely see the moon. And I was like, that's fantastic, because not only can you barely see the moon, but between the haze and the cloud cover, I was like, they're going to feed for at least 1 or 2 more hours on their nighttime pattern. Yeah. And so I made my first 2 casts, well, actually first 3 casts, and caught my first 2 fish on a worm in 20 foot. And gizzard shad broke the surface in the grass and got my attention. And I was like, I reached back and I grabbed that hybrid hunter, and I threw that hybrid hunter in there, and it was game on from there out.
Wow. Hey Josh, the screen's frozen on our end. Can you still see us and everything pretty good?
You guys are frozen on my screen. I apologize.
Same here.
Yeah, it's same on our end.
Well, we're still live here.
You can still hear us though, right?
Can you hear us? We're still live and running on our side. All right, we're froze. Hey guys, we're working on a little technical issue, trying to get Josh back up and running. Turn off video, turn it back on. Turn it back on. Hey, there we go.
There we are.
You got us now?
Can you hear us now? He's moving. Oh, he just froze again. Man, he's coming on and then he's kind of freezing and unfreezing. Have him leave the room and come back in, if he would. One thing I know to do. Hey guys, sorry for the tech. I mean, it's just part of this live streaming thing. We never know what's going to go wrong or what's going to go right. So what we asked him to do is leave the room, come back. When he comes back, we should be able to see him again, hopefully, and be able to finish up this conversation.
Yep.
But of course, that's going to take a minute.
Yeah, it might might have to restart the video.
There you go.
There you go.
Hopefully this is going to fix it. Hey, Josh.
There we are.
There we are.
Sorry about that, bud.
It's all good, man.
Beauty
What's the last thing you guys heard?
You were talking about the overcast conditions of, the haze in the morning and stuff like that, the fog and whatnot, and how that, catch them out deep still.
Okay, so yeah, I caught my first 2 fish on a worm, and I caught them in 20 foot. And I had a gizzard shad pop up in the grass, and it got my attention. So I reached back to grab that hybrid hunter. I threw it up in the grass as far as I could chuck it. It hit the water, and I don't know, a handful of cranks, and I almost had the rod taken out of my hand. That fish hit it so hard, and I realized at that moment in time, I was like, I need to throw this in the grass a little bit more. Like, I need to take advantage of these cloudy skies and this overcast, and I really need to mine this grass and not spend my time working my offshore brush, because I was marking fish on those anomalous spots. But the reality of the situation is that the fish that were biting on those anomalous spots were relatively small. And by throwing it up in the grass, I was getting hit by much bigger fish. Every fish that hit me in the grass was 16 inches or larger all day.
Wow. So this these areas you're fishing, were they out of the current, in the current?
So I was basically sitting on the river channel. So there's a long tapering grass point that comes off one of the islands outside of Pride Landing. And as that long point is coming out, the river ledge is sitting right there up against it. And so in practice, that's what I had scanned. I basically went as far down that river ledge as I could run, and I started working my way towards the island, and I just kept mapping and mapping and mapping and mapping. And I would find these anomalous spots and they'd have fish on them. But as I would get off of that space and move towards shallow water, you'd see grass anywhere from 3 to 5 foot off the bottom of the river. And so basically you had this big, I don't know, I'd say about 400 yards, 4 football fields worth of grass. And it come up to the ledge and it just tapers and it just falls flat off. And it falls into 25 foot. and it was the ideal location for them. And there was a huge stump in the area. There were some submerged trees in a couple spots, and I had all of that marked. But the funny thing about it is that those anomalous points, if I was to stop there and cast the hybrid hunter in the grass, that is the areas where I got bit the most.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about this bait, because I remember when it came out, when it was released. I believe it was last year. You know, I can't remember the striking pro's name, but I remember seeing the video. Is it kind of like a weight bait? You know, and give us your setup. What were you throwing it online and all that kind of stuff?
So I wouldn't consider it a weight bait. I would consider it a rapid floating crankbait. It has that unique bill on it. It dives 3 to 5 feet. It's got a loud, hard knocker in it. It reminds me of a tungsten 2-tap, if you've ever thrown Sprite King's tungsten 2-tap rattle trap. And so it reminds me of that a lot. But when you stop it, it rises to the surface super fast. It's extremely buoyant. And I was throwing the full-size version, which, like I said, dives 3 to 5. Their smaller version only dives 2 to 4.
Gotcha. Okay. You throwing it on a crankbait rod?
Yes, I was throwing it on a glass 7-foot rod with a Diehl Tatula Elite 6.3 to 1 reel. And if you've ever seen Gerald Swindle talk about his fishing on TVA lakes, when he talks about crankbait fishing, he always talks about the faster you reel it, he said, the harder it'll hit it. And he said, the more they'll hit it too. He said, you know, speed kills. And so when they started biting the hybrid hunter, I started really winding it. I moved it as fast as I could. I had to actually take a break somewhere around 9 o'clock because my shoulder was getting sore.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's awesome. Yeah, you know, that morning, I remember the drive out to the ramp. You know, I started down at Cane Creek area, and then moved over there to probably later in the day. But man, the fog was so thick, and I started out fishing outside grass edge, you know, right next to the river channel. And I just had that hunch because we had so much, you know, thickness of fog and it's that haze for so long. I moved up shallow, started throwing a walking bait. It was kind of like your story, you know, first cast. I mean, I call it, you know, an 18 3/4. You just plowed it, you know, and the bait was up there. A lot of bait was up more towards the bank, schooling bait, than they were out kind of near the river ledge and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting day. But man, you know,
my fish were definitely.
Go ahead.
Sorry. My fish were definitely in proximity to the river ledge. They were within one solid cast length of the river ledge. And then they moved throughout the day a little bit, but they never came out of the grass. They stayed up in the grass the entire day.
That's awesome, man. 92 and a half inches it was?
Yep.
So when you mentioned that you had a limit pretty early in the day, correct?
Yeah, about 20 minutes is what it took me to get a limit.
And the rest of us were out there grinding all daggone day. I did not get my 5th fish. I caught that big one, but and I busted my butt to try to put a 12-incher in the boat to catch up to you, but it just didn't happen. But
so I caught about 25 fish on tournament day, and I lost 6 or 7, to include 2 on camera.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah. What time did I saw you? They got a lot of pictures of you. Did they call you up and say, "Hey, you're leading. You know, where are you at? We're gonna come find you"?
No, that's not the way it works for BASS. So the way it works for bass is that the camera boat hits the water, and they pick up the phone and they go, "Hey, where do you want us to go?" And because TourneyX has our geocords from our fish submissions, they know who's doing what on the water. And so Dwayne and John were like, "Hey, look, Josh is on him. You need to go find him." He's in this general area, and he's thumping everybody right now. They came to me. They showed up. I don't know. I want to say they showed up about 6:30, 6:45, something like that. Maybe even closer to 7. By that time, within a few minutes after them getting there, I boated the fish that put me at 90 inches. And then I didn't upgrade from my 90 inches until after they left, but I was on fish and catching fish and losing fish the entire time they were there. The speed slowed down a little bit. I didn't get bit as many times as I was getting bit to start the morning, but I mean, that bite for me went all day. It was a matter of trying to adjust as the fish would move in the grass, trying to move with the fish and stick with them as they made their adjustments.
Did you find later in the day as the sun came out, did they go a little bit deeper? Did you ever resort back to those brush piles at all?
So I believe in keeping myself honest. I went back to those brush piles about a dozen times throughout the course of the day, and I never caught a single fish out of those brush piles other than those first 2 to kick off the morning. And what would happen is that you ask to get deeper. If you count a half a foot as deeper, then yes, they went deeper. But the reality of the situation was they were probably within, I don't know, a quarter mile of the land point that I was fishing near. And when we got later in the day, they were about 3/8 to pushing closer to half a mile away from the land point. And so as I basically I just kept floating out with them and letting the little bit of current that we had just keep moving me back. And I would find fish in a new sweet spot.
Nice. Man, what I tell you, if we would have had a tournament the weekend before, those brush piles would have paid off, because that was why I went to Pride Landing. I had found a ledge full of brush piles. I probably had like 10 of them marked. And in practice the weekend before, I mean, I was just out there, for one day. But first casting those brush piles, they were hammering. They were hammering good. But yeah, I was really, really disappointed when I made the trek all the way down to that area. And I fished them for probably an hour and a half and just never got a bite. And I pulled out the shaky head, and that's something I don't do. But
I know the feeling. I pulled out the drop shot a little bit, which is not something I do a lot.
Yeah, that didn't even make it in my boat that day. But so what's what do you got coming up next? I saw that you posted a little bit about one of the tournaments coming up. Were you talking about the Susquehanna or the Bassmaster tournament coming up?
No, Bassmaster at Chesapeake Bay.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're gonna follow? Do you do any club trails at all?
So I did club trails the last 2 years. I finished second in our AOI standings last year with only fishing the minimum events because I traveled for bass last year, and I traveled for bass again this year. The bigger kicker for me with the local trail events, and this isn't a knock on them, but one of the guys, one of the guys locally, he said, "Are you willing to travel 4 or 5 hours to fish a pot tournament in Georgia?" And I said, "Well," you raise a valid point, because pot tournaments happen on the bass boat up here at Clarksville every weekend. And I can get in on a pot tournament anytime I want. So where do I decide to draw that line between what days I spend in my bass boat and what days I spend in my kayak? And the reality is I'm still trying to figure out the balance in that. Most of the trails here in my local vicinity have slowly dwindled down and kind of fallen off or died out. Georgia has the Georgia Kayak Fishing League, and they have the Peach State Kayak Anglers. The problem with where I live in the state is that if I want to go to those events, it's a minimum 2-hour drive to get to an event, but the maximum is 5.5. And so that's a lot of time to go for a $50 entry fee or a $60 entry fee, and not be something on the national circuit.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of
You guys froze on me again. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you
We hear
fine.
you.
He's already got
See
the
that?
routine down.
There he is.
Hey.
Right.
Hey, I'll switch over to my phone here and see if it helps out. Makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think so. Might even help out the lag a little bit. It seems like it's helping out the lag.
Yeah, it seems like it's helping out the lag a lot. I had some significant lag on my laptop here. So,
Yeah.
but no, what I was saying beforehand was just, it's hard to make that determination on where I want to go and how much I want to travel. And there's wear and tear on the body. There's wear and tear on the sleep schedule and stuff like that when you travel a lot. And I got to factor that in to anything that I choose to do.
Yeah, especially when you're doing 5.5 miles an hour in a Hobie. I imagine there's some wear and tear there.
Yeah.
We've got some our local club. We've got some lakes that we kind of have like a shotgun starter. Where we all go out of the same ramp and we're all pumping it on those days. It's a race to the 2 or 3 honey holes on these little lakes we fish, but yeah, I totally get it. We're fortunate to have a lot of really good fishing within two hours of of where we're at. So it's but we're still growing. It's a club deal. Still getting a lot of people joining in. That's kind of one of the reasons why we started this podcast was to cater to the local scene and get more people involved and all that kind of stuff. So, man, anything else?
Really awesome. No, I think that's really awesome. I think that what you guys are doing is great for the community and a great opportunity for people to get kind of that exposure that they need to have. And I mean, I really appreciate you guys bringing me on today. I don't expect this to be my last blue trophy. This was a dream of mine that came true, and I'm fortunate to have filled it relatively quickly. But I don't think this is gonna. I don't intend for this to be the last time that y'all see me.
There you go.
There you go, man. That's right. I had to.
So I'm already working on Chesapeake Bay. I know how hard it is to come back and win 2 events in a row against a bunch of hammers. I don't expect to go out and win Chesapeake Bay by any means. I haven't fished in Maryland in a while. I lived in Maryland for 15 years. I'm actually more looking forward to the Wisconsin event again than I am the Chesapeake Bay, but I do have some experience on those tidal fisheries up there, and I fished for one of my biggest bags of my personal career has come out of Chesapeake Bay tributaries. I had a 5 for 25-pound day up there once.
Wow, very nice,
man. Yeah, that's I really enjoyed. We fish a lot of the Hobie Bass Open Series stuff outside of our local trail. But man, they ran a really good event. I kind of sometimes like the one-day events because in a kayak, I mean, you know how it is. You get worn out, especially on the Hobie stuff. You can't use motors. You can during practice, but like you said, the wear and tear on the body, it can happen real quick. But I really enjoyed Dwayne and the Bassmaster crew. They did a really good job. And I was really just kind of shocked at how quick they got us in and out on the captain's meeting and the check-in. I think we had the awards lasted maybe 10 minutes once it got started.
Yeah, that's something that's definitely changed a little bit. The award situation, COVID obviously had something to do with that, but I like the format that we've gone to. I like to know that I can basically fish my spot as long as I can fish my spots in the end of the event, and then come in and check out a tourney X and be good to go, and then wait on a phone call as to whether or not I need to go to awards or know that it's time to go home.
Right.
But, you know, the reality of the situation, usually the worst day for me is the Friday before. And Dwayne and John have done a really good job streamlining registration and making registration smoother and more efficient. And some of that showed at Pickwick for sure. It's the least stress that I've been on registration day, trying to get everything worked into my schedule.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. COVID, it's had its challenges, but it's brought some new ways of doing things that's kind of been more efficient and a lot easier on the anglers, because there for a while we weren't even doing check-ins or anything like that, and like on the Hobie series, you used to have a drive back after Saturday, and then after Sunday you had to physically drive there, and on a lake like Kentucky Lake, and when you're fishing down south and you got to drive all the way up north, man, that is an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Me and David, we're slap worn out by the time we get back to the house. So I like it.
Yeah, that was Chickamauga for me last year. I mean, it's rough, but AJ and company, man, they run a really tight ship over there. I love the Hobie BOS, and you're going to see me more on the Hobie BOS next year as well. I mean, I'm committed to Bassmaster first because Bassmaster was a dream of mine and something that I wanted to chase. But you're going to see me, most of my schedule next year will be BASS and Hobie BOS as my priority trails. And then whatever else I fish because I choose to fish.
That's awesome. Do you see bass going to a 2-day format in the future?
That's a really hard question. It's hard for me to say at this moment in time. I think that as far as bass goes, bass is still evolving as to what the kayak trail looks like. I think there's a possible future for a 2-day trail. I think there's a lot of people that want to see a 2-day trail series or a 2-day event, excuse me. But, you have a mixed bag because bass runs a single day, Hobie runs a 2-day, and then KVF is running 2 single days back to back. And I think what we're learning and seeing from that is that where the entry fees are currently at, that $200, $250 entry fee range is kind of ideal for a national trail single day event, where like when we went to Possum Kingdom, the entry fee was like $450 for 2 days, and it was a lot more realistic to a 2-day tournament. And so I think that, as this continues to evolve, I think we might see some more 2-day events pop up, but I also think it'll come with some higher entry fees.
I agree.
Makes sense.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, you kind of have a plethora of options. Just kind of what anglers want to do. If you want to fish a 2-day, 2-day format, you got the Hobie BOS for that. And then I think it was a good move and probably beneficial for KVF to split it up, and because some people can only commit to 1 day, and then but if they want to hang around and fish 2 days, well, then you got that option. Chance at 2 trophies. Ultimately, I guess same amount of money that you would have won on a 2-day tournament. But yeah, man, at the award ceremony, and then we're gonna get to your closing thoughts on this, but you had an awesome story about your jersey. It was I was inspired by it, man. So for our viewers, I think stuff like that just lifts the spirits, man. I enjoyed hearing it. Our viewers would probably like to hear it too, man. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So my jersey is sort of expired in a sense, and I don't say that in a derogatory manner, but most of the outlets that are on my jersey, the people who got me started in this business, in this industry, in this tournament fishing scene, they all fell apart or were made of COVID. And the guy who really got me started from a shop perspective, Kevin Fox over at Southern Moon, he always tells me it's still in the heart. And I mean, he was super proud to see what I did at this event, and you know, he kind of lives through me when I have these events, and he lives through a couple of my colleagues as well, that when they do well on their trail events as well. But you know, the shop still lives on in us, but the shop is closed due to COVID. And with that said, I had 4 sponsorship / pro staffs on my jersey that had all closed during COVID. 3 of them closed because of COVID, and 1 went through a change for other reasons. And then the remaining organizations on there are just companies that have been with me and take good care of me. And then, of course, there's the folks out at Socks and Cookies who have been a huge supporter of me and my endeavors, and are doing great things for our troops here and abroad. So it's everything that I've done this season. The reason why I continue to wear the jersey is for them. And at the end of the season, I'll retire that jersey, and we'll see what next season holds.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
That's awesome, dude. Well, Ben, it's been an honor talking to you. I remember we were talking. You always have the doc talk. You know, what's it going to take to win this tournament? I said, I'm sure others did too, somebody's going to catch a 9+ pound bag. It's just going to happen. It's Pickwick. The fish are there. Somebody's going to find them, and you did that on some pretty tough conditions. So, man, congratulations from all of us. You know, excellent job, the local guys. I mean, we got a lot of Bass Boat guys that kind of tune into this show too. That fish Pickwick. I'm sure they were pretty impressed as well. So, man, any closing thoughts? Anybody that you want to give us some additional thanks to before we let you go?
Well, I mean, yeah, I happily take that opportunity. I mean, many thanks to Southern Moon Outfitters and to the people here in Augusta who have had my back the entire way. Broadway Bait and Tackle, they were one of the organizations that closed. I got some fantastic news today. My net manufacturer, Jeff Payne, who closed his shop during COVID due to the fact that he was also fighting cancer, just asked me today that if he was going to start making nets today, that if I would represent him. And I said, absolutely, in a heartbeat, man. Like, I'd love to see him get back into the scene. So he told me today he's coming back. And so J. Payne Custom Landing Nets, this guy makes amazing nets. It's the net that I keep on my kayak. And I've done some crazy things with it, and they see a lot of fish. Swagger Tungsten, they've been with me since the beginning of last year, give or take. What else I got? Power Pole picked me up this year, which is really cool. Unfortunately, with Southern Moon closing, I'll probably lose Power Pole at the end of this year because I don't have a local dealer for them. And then moving on to some other stuff, Diehl. My Diehl reels are everything. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate those reels and what they've brought to my arsenal. The ability to make long casts, to have a lot of control. I run Diehl reels with Sunline FC Sniper, and that's my go-to. But many thanks to them. I mean, dude, this weekend was surreal. It was an amazing, wonderful experience. I'm super grateful to have had the opportunity. And I mean, as far as things going forward, get my head back on my shoulders and get my head down and start grinding out the next one.
There you go, man. That's awesome.
So I want to thank you guys. I really appreciate this opportunity. I mean, this is the first opportunity that I've had to be on a podcast, and it's been a unique experience, and I've enjoyed this. It's a great opportunity and great time, and I like talking to you guys.
Yeah,
appreciate it. We appreciate you coming out.
Have you.
Yeah, likewise. Man, well, good luck to you, dude. I want to thank you for your service. You mentioned you're in the Air Force.
Absolutely.
And, man, good luck to you, in all your endeavors the rest of this year. Hope to catch up with you sometime out there on the trail.
That would be fantastic. I'd love to.
All right, buddy.
Have a good night, man.
All right, man.
All right, you guys have a good one. Thank you.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome, dude.
Hey, it seemed like a real great.
Yeah, I liked him. Good one. So, good job on getting him on tonight.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
finding
Well, it was made, you know, yeah. I mean, it's our hole. You know, you gotta talk to the guy who put you on your own leg. But I think I deduced quite a bit about where all that he was at.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, just that Hybrid 100, maybe you're gonna have to get some on your shelf now.
It's one of those we have been trying off and on to get in here. The problem is, and I wish I'd have known if you gave me a little heads up, I already had some in here probably. But the reality of it is they have been hard to get your hands on this year. I've had several people requesting them. Again, with everything that's been going on this year, it's been tough. It's beginning to get, and that's what I was telling them earlier. It's beginning to get a lot easier to get product. I mean, it's like that's all beginning to loosen up a little bit. We're getting, we went from none of our wholesalers had rods and reels and stuff that now they're beginning to send us emails saying, hey, we got all these extra combos, y'all need to come get them, yada yada. So it's coming. I think we're fixing to see snipers beginning to get easier to get our hands on. I got a new shipment shot sniper in today. No 600-yard spools, sorry, but I mean lots of twos, and it's been a little tougher. It's getting a lot easier. So
that's awesome.
Actually, we got some hose landing this week.
Oh, what do you have?
We got two 360s in the blue, 14-footers. I have two of the Ike editions.
Okay, so hold on. Jimmy Staball, you've been talking about you want the 14-foot 360.
I got
your
one.
Opportunity.
Yeah, I got two going to be here. We're hoping Saturday. I got the shipping manifest on today. Here's the caveat. Not 100% sure all the parts are coming. It might be another week or two before those parts get here. But if you want one, give me a call.
Yeah. Well, man, we appreciate Primary Tackle and S.Y. Wilson, for sponsoring this show, giving us the facility to do it. Obviously, you're part of it.
Yeah.
But it's got to give thanks where thanks is due. But, man, any closing thoughts, anything to tell you guys about this weekend?
Just be there. Captain's meeting at Browns Creek, right there in the little parking lot at 5:30 in the morning. We're gonna go right at them.
Make sure your knots are tight.
Knots are tight and hooks are sharp, and bring plenty of water.
There you go. Yeah. Kind of hate that I'm gonna miss it. Maybe not. It'll be hot. It shows 97 degrees here. So
we ain't got a northwest
over here,
at 5 or 6, 90 degrees. I'll take that.
Yeah. 97?
90.
No, it says
90
97.
there. Yeah. It's election. It's not here.
It is 2 hours down the road.
It is.
And it's protected. There's a lot of trees around there.
But
But
it's
also
not the Memphis area. Memphis area.
It is hot. We got a lot of concrete around here.
Yeah.
So.
it's all the industry
All right.
around here too. All right, guys, we're gonna sign off.
Yep. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, guys, thanks.